let's move on to the broader issue here, Mr. Yassani. 7.5 years rather after the Taliban were removed from power by the US, they now seem to be resurgent. We have as many attacks in these weeks by the Taliban against coalition forces as we had at the height of the war in 2001. Why has that happened?
Well, first of all, I mean, the job which was about to be done 7 years back, that was not done. There was not enough coordination, and we missed the opportunity. And if we miss the current opportunity, we will face more of those problems in the future, and that will increase day by day. The government was inefficient. The coalition was not having coordination with the local government. The strategic planning was not there, and the Taliban's prisoner was tortured by the local governments everywhere, from the north to the south. And people got some sort of intimidation in the event because of the revenge, to take the revenge back. So all of those inefficiency in lack of strategy, lack of coordination, and lack of enough attention caused all of those increase in the violence or fighting back by the Taliban.
And in one line, please, Mr. Yassani, do you think that the increase of American and coalition troops on the ground helps or hinders the cause of your country? Briefly.
In short term, yes, it does help to ensure the security for the election, but in long term, we have to go to increase our own security apparatus standards, and that is the only one way.
Mirwais Yassani, presidential candidate in the forthcoming Afghan elections. Thanks very much for joining us from Kabul. Welcome back to Islamabad, Pakistan. I'm Matt Fry. We'll continue our coverage from here and across the border in Afghanistan tomorrow on another special edition of BBC World News America. Ian Pannell will report from Afghanistan on how both sides have geared up for the summer fighting season. US troops sent in as part of Barack Obama's military surge, and Taliban fighters determined to counter that surge. And Ola Gerin is with Pakistani police in Lahore as they attempt to find and break the Taliban cells that have been responsible for so many of the attacks in urban areas in this country, like this one here. One of the most striking things about visiting Islamabad is the extraordinary feeling that this is a city in lockdown, a fortress. Public buildings, luxury hotels, every potential target has been hardened against attack, and properly so, of course. The list of suicide bombings mounted by the Taliban on high-profile places here is depressingly long, but it does give the sense of a place in a defensive crouch, and that's exactly the opposite to the attitude that the Pakistani government would like to project. It wants to highlight its own offensives underway in the countryside. That is the deadly cat-and-mouse game here. Pakistan's military assaulting Taliban strongholds, even as people in the cities wait nervously for the next bomb to go off. I'm Matt Fry from Catty Kay and all of us at BBC World News America. Thanks for watching. We hope you'll join us again tomorrow from here in Pakistan for our special coverage. They say that all politics is local. Well, that's not the case here in Pakistan. The extremists here have a proven ability to export their terror to our doorstep, and that's why the war here in this region against the militants matters to all of us. While the Pakistani military is fighting the Taliban in the hills and valleys, the police are trying to find their suicide bombers in the alleys and hideouts of crowded cities. In Punjab, the country's most populous province, they've had some success. A number of Taliban cells have been broken up and key figures have been arrested. Our Pakistan correspondent Ola Gerin has had exclusive access to the police and to the bombers.
Lahore by night. In the shadows, there are new threats. Pakistan's cultural capital, home to 10 million, now menaced by suicide bombers. Local police are on their trail, but with no wiretaps and limited forensics, it's often a shot in the dark. They search low-budget hotels and hostels, hoping for leads to their newfound enemy, the Taliban.
A year back, even I had sympathies for them. I thought that they were fighting with conviction. But now they're doing crazy stuff, and they're killing us and our kids. So they are our enemy.
These days, it looks like Pakistan is really hunting the militants, not just going through the motions, something it's been accused of in the past when the Taliban's main battleground was Afghanistan. Searches like this used to happen every 2 or 3 months. Now it's 2 or 3 a week. So far, nothing suspect has been found here, but the point is also to send a message that rooms are being checked, movements are being monitored, and it's not so easy now to come here and hide. This is where many of the bombers are coming from, rural Punjab. It's Pakistan's heartland, and it too is now fertile ground for the Taliban. But police are breaking links in the Taliban chain. Among recent arrests, this self-confessed suicide bomber. For legal reasons, his face is concealed. You had a bomb and you intended to go and kill innocent people. How can you possibly try to justify this?
When they take us from here for training, they teach us that this is jihad. They brainwash us, and we start thinking that this is the way to heaven.
What about women? What about children? If they sent you to a playground, were you going to detonate your bomb there?
Whatever they say, we will do it. If our commander tells us to blow up our own parents, we'll do it.
If they told you to kill me now, you would do it?
Why not?
Police say they recovered some of the ingredients for his bomb from a second member of the same Taliban cell, the bomb maker. He's 25 and unmarried. He says he was trained last year at a camp inside Pakistan.
There were 15 or 16 in my class, all trained in explosives. All those who worked in Afghanistan before are now in Pakistan. Why should we go there, they say, when we have so much to do here?
The bombers are getting more brazen and more advanced. This was May 27th. A van arrives at a police building in Lahore. First, gunmen jump out, killing guards at the gate. There's a desperate rush for cover. The gunmen simply let themselves through. A few officers try to hold them off, but the van and its deadly cargo are closing in. And this is the result. A huge blast that claimed 29 lives. Ikra was robbed of her husband Tahir in the attack. Their first baby is on the way. Tahir stayed at his post and made the last radio call for help. His brother Shahid, a fellow officer, says the Taliban are terrorists using religion for cover. They're the enemy of the country, he says, and we're ready to give the government as many lives as it takes to beat them. Since Tahir's killing, another brother has rejoined the police. Their mother worries for her remaining sons. She says only God knows what will happen to this country. Orla Gearan, BBC News, Lahore.
For more on her reports over the last 2 days on Pakistan's efforts to combat the Taliban, I spoke to Orla a brief time ago. Orla, you've seen your fair share of frisky parts of the world, and of course, as we've seen in your reports, you spend time with the police, but you also spend time with the military. What does it smell like to you? Does it smell like victory for the government side or defeat?
Well, the army would like it to be victory, and they're already calling victory in some areas, but I have to say this is a mistake they've made in the past. It's always been premature and they've always been wrong. What you do get a sense of, Matt, on the front line at ground level with the guys who are actually doing the fighting is that they really do now see the Taliban as their enemy. They believe this is a fight to the finish, that they are defending their nation, that they are trying to rescue Pakistan from an imminent threat. And they are dying for this. We've had about 100 soldiers killed so far in SWAT. We have burials that are taking place every other day, featuring prominently on national television. So the price is being paid. What is less clear is what is the real intention, particularly at the senior level of the army. And there is always this famous issue of the double game in Pakistan. Things are never quite what they seem. with the Pakistani military. I think the jury is still out on that. It's not clear if the army really intends to fight to the finish, or if what they're looking for is containment, preserving a certain group of Taliban, the good Taliban as they see them, the useful ones who fight the fight in Afghanistan, but dealing with those that are now disrupting this country, bombing this country, and causing a problem for the leadership here.
Keeping the good Taliban for a rainy day, you might say. So here's my question. For years we heard that the Americans were putting pressure on General Musharraf when he was still running this country, that this is so important for Pakistan to kind of lead the fight against extremism, and yet they didn't do it. The Americans were upset about it, people in this country were upset about it, and suddenly they've decided to get busy. Why is that?
Well, I think the army recognised that things have really come to the 11th hour. We had that admission ourselves yesterday in our interview that from General Tariq Khan, that action should have been taken earlier. Army commanders will tell you this, both at the senior level and in the field. The army was waiting for a clear signal from the civilian government here, which is now in control. The political leadership decided, on foot of extraordinary pressure from Washington and the West,